All right, guys, so we're here at the Warlord Games Day, and this is their 10th anniversary, and who better to have here than Peter Dennis, who does so much, if not practically all of the artwork that comes for Warlord Games and all their boxes. So yeah, it would be really interesting to have a little bit of a chat with you about sort of the process that comes with working with Warlord. Sort of how does it all begin with you? Sort of, do they feed you an idea, like we need to get this rulebook done, I want you to do a piece, that kind of thing, yeah?
I mean, for box art, it's pretty specific. I've been doing it for so long now. Paul just emails me and says, little box, Soviet sailors, here's the figures, and that's it. And I just, I'll do a pencil. All illustration goes through a pencil stage. So you've got the piece drawn up, the board. You just draw it in pencil, basically. And I email that to Paul, and Paul says, it's about all right, I think. So, and then I do the artwork, and then he says, something's wrong. It's always something. He's very particular, is Paul. I correct it, and then he says, perfect, and that's where we go from. That's it. That's the job done. So it was sort of a lot harder in the start, because I don't think I hadn't actually done any box art. I don't think when I first started to work for Warlord. I knew John Stallard very slightly through Brian Ansell, and John and Paul came and visited me, and they sat in my kitchen, and we talked about doing some box art of Romans. The utterly bizarre thing was, working for Warlord, that I got an email from John, this sometime before this, saying, would you like to do some Roman box art? We're doing some plastic Romans. And about half an hour later, it couldn't have been any more than that, and I'd not done any box art at this point, I got a phone call from Tony Reedy in America, and he said, no, I'm wrong. It was the other way around. John rang me, and then Tony Reedy emailed me, and he said, would you like to do some box art for some plastic Romans? And I thought, and being a complete idiot, I said, I'm very sorry, I've just accepted a very similar commission. I can't, you don't want to, no is the answer. And he said, John Stallard? And I thought, hello, what's going on? There's some strange thing I've suddenly been dropped into. So anyway, more by luck than judgment, I'm working for Warlord and not, well, we know what happened to the boys in America. What were they called? War Games Factory or something like that? Yeah. So, but anyway, it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed working with them. They're a great bunch of guys, and we go on. But Warlord expanded a lot faster than I could. So I was nagging them for years, literally for years. We've got to get some more illustrators on this gig, and then I had to find them. So eventually I got Johnny Shoemate and Steve Noon, and said, these blokes are okay. They're pucker. They'll pay you. Work for them, and they did, which was great. So I'm now not. I don't live in dread now of the what Warlord are going to need every month. So quite. Yeah. Do
you have a sort of a favourite period that you like drawing and painting the most, or?
No, no. The answer is no. I mean, I like them all. That's the thing, that every period has got a sort of aesthetic that you tune into. Even World War II with its tanks and hard edges, and but it's got the camo and it's got this lovely colour unity thing going on. But I also love Napoleonic, and I said that I don't have a particular period, but really I like the mixture of armour and cloth. So English Civil War, or a little bit earlier where you've got that, or Landsknecht, where you've got the sort of shiny bits of metal and cloth and all that kind of stuff going on, and the wild whiskers. I like all that. Yeah. So, but really, it's a fantastic job if you are sort of a natural drawer, which I always have been. I'm happy to say. Yeah, it'd be a nightmare without that. Yeah, so it's something that I'm getting quite old now, so sooner or later I've got to call a halt to it, I suppose. Although maybe not. Something creative people tend to creak on. But yeah, so I've had a great time working for Warlord.
So do you continue to use a lot of the sort of pencils and paints and things, or do you do any digital stuff now as well, or is it all very traditional?
It's all medieval. I was sitting down there saying to somebody, "This is the medieval department. The modern department's over there." As one of the guys is working on a computer. No, I mean I don't even Photoshop things or manipulate them in any way. It's I actually create a piece of artwork, which I'm happy to say Warlord then buys from me. So it's good. No, yes.
And so, do you get to do a lot of wargaming yourself as well?
Yeah, I do quite a bit of wargaming. Largely these days with the Perry twins. I'm happy to say. I mean, good God, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Fantasy world. Oh, another game round at the Perrys on Thursday. Oh, I'll pop along. Again, purely chance that I live in Nottingham, well, near Nottingham, but Nottingham is kind of the world centre of this whole shebang, and it's something that I've loved ever since I was a kid, and to somehow for this world to grow up around you in very close proximity is most peculiar, and I'm a very lucky boy.
And so one of your other projects you've also been mentioning is something to do with paper soldiers, I believe, yeah? So could you tell us a little bit more about that and sort of your plans for that going forward?
Yeah, sure. We do a lot of things. I do a lot of things because, you create something because you want it to exist. And people have worked on paper soldiers. A lot of people, Billy Bones' workshop and all kinds of guys have had some great ideas and done some really interesting work with paper modelling. And there's a lot of it going on in America and Russia. But there was nothing that I really wanted to use and that could take the place of a little stand of War Games figures that had a front and a back and kind of looked proper. And I wanted to make those. And they made them in France back in the 19th century. The Imagerie d'Épinal made these fantastic, swaggering paper figures that were just beautiful. I first saw them in France when I was about 18. And I was knocked out by these things. Like, whoa, hey, look at this. Because they seemed so much more alive than the metal figures at that time. Now, of course, metal figures and 3D figures have come on enormously since. I mean, just wonderful talent we have now making them. But anyway, lots of advantages to paper figures, much quicker to do for a start, and I can do them. It's my skill set. So I started to. I'd thought for years about how I could make these damn things, and failed. There's something about register, the front and the back, and you think about cutting them out of a sheet and I was messing about one day in the studio, and I just had some paper, and I just sort of folded it up and just threw it down. And the way it fell, I could see ranks in it. I thought, hang on. And within 10 minutes, I'd just drawn them and cut them very crudely out and made a little stand of figures. And I thought, just a minute, we can do this. And
had a eureka moment.
Yeah, absolutely, literally, yeah. No. Well, anyway, yeah. So from then, of course, it's evolved. And first of all, I made some Jacobites and things, which actually ended up in War Games Illustrated. Then I made some English Civil War figures, and Duncan Rogers of Hellion Publishing came to see me about some other thing. He's a very hands-on publisher who sort of moves around and visits people, which not many do. And I got some of these English Civil War figures set out, and he said, what are these, sort of thing? And he's kind of a wannabe toy soldier maker anyway. He first started, I think, making toy soldiers. And I explained what they were, and after a little while, I said to him, "Do you want to help me sort of get them out?" And he said, "Yeah, well, yeah, let's do it." So Hellion are now publishing this sort of range. It's got a growing range of paper soldiers. I mean, it's quite different, really, and they're quite different to 3D figures, and they sort of do the same kind of job in a very different way, and I love them, and a lot of people seem to as well. So, and I knew that if I liked them, there's bound to be a few people like me around who would also like them, and we're sort of finding each other slowly but surely, and I'm having a fantastic time making them. To have the power to sort of generate, an army, I mean, relatively quickly, is terrific. So I'm having a fine time doing that. And
it's always good to have that any way and any opportunity to be able to do your hobby the way you want to is always important.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, the paper soldiers are the ultimate merging of hobby and work. It always has been an absolute privilege to work in the war games business, and I really mean that. I feel that very strongly. That I've been very fortunate to be there at the right time, because as I often tell people, Nottingham is the Florence of the war games renaissance. It really is, and to actually be part of that is a terrific thrill. Terrific. Next question, sir.
Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything, I think, actually. But yeah, so that's a little chat there with Peter Dennis, who does some amazing artwork. It has inspired me to paint so many of my Dark Age figures. I won't let you know. So, so yes, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed the rest of the videos throughout the rest of the live blog as well. We'll be back with some more very, very soon, as well as plenty of picture galleries as well. And we'll see you guys soon.